for our Olympics. So we're going to have, there's the summer and the winter Olympics. We're going to have our Olympic Games. Our Health Olympics are going to last 6 months, and we're going to have one starting from January to June, and a second one that's our Winter Olympics, and our Summer Olympics go from July to December. And let's learn more about how we can become more healthier and become our own best Olympic participant. Tell us more.
Well, first of all, is why are we doing this? So I think Dr. Curnew, you've worked for many decades, and you've always had this challenge of how to get people to exercise and adopt healthy behavior. So the why is shown in this next two videos. I'm not going to talk that much. I think it's very self-explanatory, but they're very powerful videos. This is the first one.
This is an amazing video.
Absolutely.
What will your last 10 years look like? Will you be quick enough for a game of tag with your grandchild? Strong enough to embrace every moment? Will you grow old with vitality? Or get old with disease? It's time to decide. The average Canadian will spend their last 10 years in sickness. Change your future at makehealthlast.ca.
I think that's a very powerful bit of words, and most of us really don't think about that too much. But I think the reality is that most of us will have some chronic disease at some point in time, or multiple chronic diseases. And are you going to wear running shoes, or are you going to be a walker? Are you going to be walking, bicycling, or are you going to be in a wheelchair? Are you going to be at home, or are you going to be in a nursing home, retirement setting? So we know that 25% of us end up in the nursing home at some point in time. And some people say, never let me go to the nursing home. Well, a lot of people end up that way. So I think there are many choices, and most of us think we're invincible. And our peak performance is around 30. After that, it's all downhill. I'll repeat that. We build brain power, muscles, kidneys, heart, brain power. And at the age of 30, we start to lose it, and it accelerates. And so we're going to learn about what you can do more about this. So please pay attention to this. I see so many people today, and is that I'll do it later. I don't feel good. I have no energy. I'm tired. I'm fatigued. Well, if you lost half your muscle mass and you're carrying too much weight, you're wearing your body out quicker than it has to. And so let's have our Olympics and see what we can do about it. What's our next slide? All righty. Do we have? And this is actually me this year. This is our fireplace. So we had renovations in our house a few years ago, and I had one. Basically, there's two ways would argue with my wife. Neither one works, and so basically, I just wanted a fireplace. Here's me having cataract surgery this year. I will say is that I didn't realize my eyesight was as bad as it was, and now I see the world in a more colorful situation. My blood sugar in April of this year spiked up with a hemoglobin A1C of 6.6%. It usually was around 5.6, 5.7%. So as you know, the definition of diabetes is two consecutive values. Hemoglobin A1C is 6.5%. The number one predictor of putting diabetes into remission is losing weight. I thought I did a good job. My weight peaked at 185, but I got down to 175. I got down to 160. I'm at 165 right now. And so my brother has diabetes. My dad has diabetes. I've exercised all my life. And today I have a choice between this and a Harvey's veggie burger. Now, right now, Harvey's has a special, 2 for $8. You can have the regular burgers or the veggie burgers. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to have my first bite of my veggie burger. And basically the condiments I put in there is all the vegetables you can think of, so it sort of falls off, and mustard, and no mayonnaise, and of course the whole grain buns there. So I would rather have this little Lindor chocolate or 3 of those things, and that's about 230 calories, or 330 calories in the Harvey's veggie burger. So this is my better treat. So I'm always hungry. I hope to try to curb my appetite as best I can. And I gone into time restricted eating, and I have high intensity interval exercise. The other thing that's happened to me is I've been struggling for the last 3 months with hip problems, and I'm seeing my physiotherapist. I've had my hip X-ray. I don't have a lot of osteoarthritis. I think I pulled or tore or injured one of the ligaments or the muscles doing weight training. And right now is that I feel very frustrated that I can't play squash, can't play hockey, but I'm at the gym. I'm spending 10 to 14 hours a week of vigorous activity, including weight training. I'm not using pain medications. I'm using basically loading the joint as best I can. And I'm working with my physiotherapist twice a week. We're making slow progress. And so, is that we're all getting older and older. So, when you see these health events, and many of us have chronic disease, I deal with blocked arteries just like most of you deal too as well. Um, so I'm going to have a perfusion study. I have my stress test like you do too as well. So I'm working hard. I'm not invincible. And I also realize is for many of us between the age of 65 and 75 is our traveling ages for many of us after 75 statistically is that we get older and we may not be able to travel or and things of that nature as well. So it happens to all of us. It sneaks up in there. But so, you can make small changes, the Lindor chocolate versus a veggie burger, and basically lots of plants seeming oil, and we have all these different programs. Um, I hope you take your heart is that is one of the biggest predictors is how much muscle you have, and we lose half our muscles as we get older, and what your horsepower or VO2 max is. So we're going to learn more about this, and we're going to have our show about that. Next slide, please. And this is a basically a blood sugar graphic and some information there about millimoles per millimoles per liter, which is which are units in Canada, and milligrams per or deciliter, which is the United States. We have a wonderful video about I use the Libre 2 device intermittently, and I study what happens to my blood sugar. So one of the things that um, is that I always think if things are on sale, then therefore the calories don't count as much. And so in my Tim Hortons app, I can get the egg McMuffin type of thing, and but that causes my blood sugar to spike too much, so I have to avoid that. Um, my number one beverage is water, and one of the things we talk about is medications in general. Is that leading cause of hospitalization that's reversible is getting medications right. And it says on your appointment card, I keep begging, you see these information is always, I beg you, please bring in your pill bottles to all your appointments, so we can verify. Um, is that, too many people get injured and die because of medication errors. And if you don't bring in your medication, you're disqualified. You failed your doping test on our Olympics. You're disqualified for this round of the Olympics. So please don't make that mistake, and please attend all your appointments. If you can't attend your appointments, cancel your appointments. We don't have enough of anything. It's hard to find staff at this point in time. Our staff gets sick at different times. We have, we're dealing with infections, personal stories. So look after yourself and look after the people around you. And this is what happens as we get older in life. On your far left is a thymus gland of a young person. And these are basically where thymus is the source of T cells. T cells are a part of your immune system. These are the memory T cells. So when you fight when you get an infection, the first thing that happens, you have this non-specific cytokine or inflammatory response. It's the non-specific finding. Your body develops then recognition of these foreign substances. Let's say it's COVID. Let's say it's the influenza, pneumococcus, or any infection. In fact, we're attacked every day by over 5,000 different antigens, different invaders, and also cancer there too as well that your body fights. On the far right is a thymus of an old fart like myself. You don't have the same immune system as you have when you're 20 years of age. And so you need to boost that. And to me is that what we have is a set of vaccines that are remarkable. Those who are young enough to realize what polio did, it's now a disease that doesn't have to happen anymore. Measles is a disease that can be eradicated. HIV cannot be eradicated because the virus changes or mutates so rapidly. What we learned about COVID, initially thought about COVID, is that COVID if we vaccinate 80% of people will get herd immunity and the disease will go away. We were wrong. It was a new disease. What happens about COVID, because it's a rapid growing virus, your body, once faced with COVID, can get overwhelmed. And when your immune system starts to react to it, if it hasn't been exposed to it recently, it gets overwhelmed too as well. But it has its B cells and its T cell function, T cell memory that generates itself and actually decreases severity, hospitalization by COVID 80-90% or severe illness. It prevents long COVID by about half. So we can go on, and people are so polarized about vaccines in general. To me, the best offense is a good defense. So there's so many different vaccines out there. Learn about what you should do, and we have our videos about that, and you'll get points for proper immunization. So you protect yourself and protect others by being vaccinated. And I think these are important things. So look at the science. And this is a really great video. Dr. Tia, I think, is going to be.
Yep, that's the one. There we go. Yeah, so this is a wonderful video. It's all the centenarian decathlon. I won't spoil it too much, but it's been something that has resonated with many people, both the young and the old. So take a look.
But you're right, exercise is my favorite, and it is my favorite because I think the data are very clear that exercise, if leveraged to its capacity, has a greater impact on your lifespan. Remember, that's the how long you live piece, and your health span, that's the how well you live piece, than any of the others, with the only exception potentially being emotional health, right? So there's clearly going to be the case of the individual whose emotional health is in such ruins that until that is addressed, no amount of physical health matters. And in fact, anything else is just prolongation of agony. But if you exclude that case, which is, I don't want to minimize that case because I think there are many people who have been in that situation, exercise really is the king of interventions. So you alluded to something that is one of my favorite topics, which is called the centenarian decathlon. So, and again, I realize that some people have read the book and they understand what this means, or they've heard me talk about it. But again, the purpose of this podcast, I think, is to make sure that someone who's new, maybe gets up to speed on this, or it's a refresher for someone. So, the centenarian decathlon is an idea that came to me in the summer of 2018. And it's an idea that occurred in an instant, but it was really the result of many years, probably 4 years of suffering, so to speak. So the suffering started at the end of 2014 when I decided to stop competitively cycling. And not only did I stop cycling, but I was not going to go back to any other sport. So I was not going to be competing anymore in masters swimming, cycling. Obviously, I had no desire to go back and compete in boxing or martial arts or anything like that. Basically, I was done competing, and all I wanted to do was exercise for the sake of exercise. And this, for me at least, was a bizarre foreign idea, because from the age of 13 until that point in time, which was 41 or 42, I had never trained without a specific purpose. Every single rep, every single lap, every single pedal stroke, everything I ever did was always geared towards a purpose. And now for the first time ever, I was kind of like, what should I do today? I guess I should go for a run. Okay, I guess I'll lift weights tomorrow. I'm in the gym lifting. What am I lifting for? Well, I used to do this. I guess I should still do this. But it was like this totally rudderless existence that I had. And it stayed that way until the summer of 2018 when I was at the funeral of the parent of one of my best friends. And again, I apologies for repeating this because I do write about this in the book, but basically at that funeral, I realized that while my friend's mom had died at a relatively old age, I think about 89, her physical life had basically demised so significantly in the past decade that her actual death was almost just a matter of formality. But she had lost the ability to do the things that mattered to her most a decade earlier. So she couldn't play golf anymore because of her shoulder. She couldn't garden because of her knees and hips and back. I mean, she couldn't even play with her grandkids. And so she spent most of the last decade of her life largely uninvolved in anything. And, did come down with dementia in the final year of her life. And that's what ultimately took her life. But, I was just totally blown away by this person that I once remembered as being completely vibrant, losing everything and spending this last year in this state. And I realized in that moment, as I literally sat in a church pew, first of all, this is really common. And secondly, this is what I want to train for. Like I, for the first time in 4 years, realized, the thing I want to train for is to avoid this. I want to come up with an event, an athletic event that will be done at the end of my life. And everything between now and then will be training for it. And so I just came up with this idea called the centenarian decathlon, not because it implies that one has to live to 100 to compete, or not even to imply that it has to have 10 events, but simply as a mental model to say, what are the most important activities, both activities of daily living and activities of performance that I want to be able to do at the end of my life? And how well can I define them? How well can I understand the physical traits that will be necessary to execute them? And then how much can I reverse from there or backcast from there what I need to be doing today to increase the probability of doing those things tomorrow to the highest level? And that has become obviously a huge obsession of mine. As you know, I, along with a couple of other folks, have started a company around this called 10 Squared, which is just geared towards training people to do this. And I think that it is, at least until someone shows me a better idea, the best model for how to train if your goal is not something very specific. So again, if you came to me and said, I know how much you love jiu-jitsu. If you're like, look, there's this tournament coming up in 6 months and I really want to compete for it. That's not the centenarian decathlon. That's a very specific type of training you need to be doing in jiu-jitsu to go and compete there. If, my wife is running the Boston Marathon next year and she wants to, run a certain time, she will have nothing to do with training her centenarian decathlon. She is going to be doing very, very specific running workouts to make sure she hits her goals. So there are lots of other ways to train, but my point is that most people aren't training to be the best at their local jiu-jitsu tournament or to run their PR at the Boston Marathon. And even if they do those things, they're usually fleeting. And ultimately, what people really want to be training for is to be the most kick-ass versions of themselves in the last decade of their life. And, again, if that means you're 80 to 90 years are functioning like you're a really good 70-year-old, that's a totally different experience from what most people go through.
There it is. What do you think about that, Dr. Curnew? And this is the
I
question that's following.
I think I wish I can say it better. I can't. It's sort of is how do you want to end your life? Is that one of the good things is that if you get a heart attack, you could die, but if you get a stroke, the chance you dying is low. You live with disability. You fall, break a hip as you get older. Is that most people, or at least half the people, don't recover enough. Many go to a nursing home and they pass away within a couple of years. Many of us have bad arthritis, and I'm having lots of aches and pains, and I'm doing something with my physio twice a week called progressively loading the joint. And it makes a huge difference. When I had my cataract surgery for 2 weeks, all I can do was walk. And I found that my hip got worse and more pain. So I'm missing the things I can't do right now. I miss squash. I miss hockey. I miss running. I don't do as many steps as I did before. And as my physiotherapist said, is that, some people are happy having no pain. Greg, you're one of those people that want to keep motion and movement going, and keep doing sports. So I'm going to do whatever I can back to try to get that level. And I'm not going to, I thought I could escape diabetes. My brother had it, my dad had it, but guess what? I'm gonna go down fighting. And I'm tired of people not fighting, and I don't know why. Is that and um and so it just sort of sneaks up on you. I know it's hard, um, but you know what? Let's have some fun, and let's just find a way of doing this together in some way. So, what do you guys think? Anybody thoughts from anybody else?
I think personally for me, this has been quite transformational, right? This is something I'm thinking about, and I've taught it to my mom as well. My dad's still working on him. But this idea of a why we're doing this, is because of that. Now, I understand it's difficult to have very long term goals, but people who are um, closer to that last few decades, I think that resonates pretty well.
You know, our last CN Tower climb. What was your the first time you did? What was your first time?
It was 4000, 40 minutes on the dot. Now that
Okay.
was in very interesting circumstances, but the second one much improved. Yeah, so I think this is exactly about that. That's a good example. We see people. I think the oldest person on the CN Tower climb was 97, Hamiltonian, and he practiced on the Shidok stairs. So that's a wonderful example of someone who wants to do things. Now it doesn't have to be climbing the CN Tower, but whatever you want to do. Doesn't matter how big, doesn't matter how small. In the last
You
years, in the last decade.
running your marathons, you're getting your times down, and I'm sure one of your goals is to try to beat up on me soon, and one of my goals is to not let you.
Absolutely. We'll see.
For as long as I can. But I realize that that transition is going to be quicker than I thought. So we'll keep having fun doing it. I hope other people will join us. April, and there's the Animal Society, and then in October usually is United Way has a CN Tower climb. All the money goes for good charities and things of that nature. So we'll be there. Um, and I hope one of you will come that. And one of the prizes will be we'll send somebody to there. To, to come with us. And the competition is just against yourself. I mean, one year is that I paid for an extra one and didn't show up. So I did it twice. And so just have some fun. It's a fun event and doing different things. So let the games begin.
And this is an excellent opportunity for us to start discussing what the Health Olympics are going to look like. And so the game really is very simple. It rewards primarily consistency. Next slide. So each time that you fill out the weekly Olympics form, which we'll go into with a bit more detail, you're showing that you're pursuing a health goal. And so we want you to pursue a specific health goal, and we'll talk more about how you can define these goals and develop them. Every time you do this, you'll receive 10 points. And there's a more advanced point system as well. And so collectively, it's all a part of the Health Olympics. And so this is a structure that we've developed for the point system. And so it's essentially different ways that you can show that you're participating in the Health Olympics and working towards a healthier version of yourself. So some of these things include making smart goals on the Olympic form. So that's worth 50 points. Signing up with a friend or a partner would be worth 100 points. Posting images, which will provide examples of what that might look like, pertaining to the health goals or challenges that you face, to the Facebook group or even on the form itself can provide 30 points. Joining our weight loss or mindfulness or movement support groups provides 40 points. Bringing in your medication list or blood pressure diary will give 20 points. And then we'll also develop weekly and monthly health challenges, like Dr. Curnew mentioned, that will provide a variable amount of points. And so we'll be providing information more about this in weekly forums and newsletters and during your appointments to tell you about what the point system will work like. So this is an example of
Back it
what,
up one shot. One thing is
yeah,
that you failed your doping test if you don't show up for an appointment.
this is
This,
true.
this is really important. Is that there are too many people who just don't show up for their appointments. I get it. There are different things, but you have to call and cancel your appointment 48 hours beforehand. We don't have healthcare is in a crisis mode right now. There's not enough of anything. Um, our staff sometimes get sick too as well. I'm going to get sick and things of that nature as well. So we're going to carry on to be as healthy as we possibly can. There's not enough healthcare providers. There's millions of people that don't have anybody. And one of the things is what I will continue to do is that one time I lived in the hospital, now I live in my clinic and on the couch a couple nights a week too, don't make it home, is that I really cannot continue to practice medicine if you're not going to show up for your appointments. Call, cancel. Okay. And it's no longer acceptable. And so let's let's talk about some of our examples here. Go tell us about this.
Yeah. And so participating can look very different for very different people. And so we offer some examples here for what some posts might look like on the Facebook crew or on the Google form that we'll be sharing with everyone. So you can share pictures of the stats that you have from all the exercises that you're doing. So you can provide us with your step count or the amount of kilometers that you walked. You can provide us with pictures of you doing the exercise. You can provide us pictures of the meals that you've prepped, or you don't even need to provide pictures. You could provide just the numbers of how many steps that you've walked. And at the top left there, we also have a fun picture of a cat. So you might see a cat on your walk. You can also add that to the post. And so this is really one of the most important parts of the Olympics. Developing SMART goals is one of the best ways for you to actually achieve your goals and work towards a better version, a healthier version of yourself. And so SMART goals are defined in five domains. So each letter stands for different things. And so S stands for specific. So we want you to state exactly what you want to accomplish. You should make your goals measurable. So use smaller mini goals to measure progress. And so it's important to make sure your goals are achievable. So making your goal reasonable and not something that's impossible or very difficult to achieve within the time limit that you set. So part of that is making sure that your goal is realistic. So setting a goal that is relevant to your life. And then finally, making sure that it's timely. So giving yourself time, but setting a deadline. And that's why we want to develop forms that are weekly to allow you to refresh this goal and provide timely goals that you can consider to work towards on a weekly basis. And additional component that we add to SMART goals are SMART O goals. And so O is for obstacles. So you should identify any health obstacles or barriers that you foresee in sticking to your health along with a contingency plan of how you will get back on your feet. And so Rad always says this, and he's very passionate about the obstacle part of SMART O goals. Um, Coming up with your own ideas of why you think your goals might not work out is one of the best ways for you to avoid that happening in the first place. And so common goals, obstacles or mistakes that people have are not making a goal in the first place. Making smarter goals are again central to the Olympics. And so if you don't make them, then it's very difficult to follow up with them. Being too ambitious is another concern that many people have. Developing goals that are very difficult to achieve might seem great initially, but as you work towards them, you'll recognize that it might not be the most reasonable goal to work towards. So starting small and then moving forward can lead to greater benefit in the long term. Getting injured is something that, everyone faces. Dr. Curnew just spoke about some of the injuries that he's faced. And of course, it's hard to avoid these, but trying to ensure an understanding of your limitations and listening to your body is important to prevent getting injured. Not scheduling things and saying that you'll do it is an easy way to slack off on your goals or to forget when you want to work towards your goals. And so scheduling can help avoid these concerns. Not habit stacking is another problem that many people face, especially when people have busy schedules and are already struggling with achieving their goals. And then working with others, which is why one of the major points in our point system is actually involving others in these health Olympics, can also be another obstacle. Working on your own is sometimes difficult to maintain motivation. And so working with others and moving towards your goals with others can provide more benefit. It's similar to team sports in the Olympics. Team sports, when people work together, they're able to achieve much greater things. And finally, trying to be perfect is difficult for everyone. No one is perfect. And so trying to make your goals in a manner to make them perfect or make yourself perfect can be difficult to achieve. And it kind of ties into the fact of being too ambitious.
I'm the most non-perfect person I know. So and but I keep striving to get better. Rad as you know is that it took me 315 flights on this glider before I had my first solo. I set the world's record for the longest time frame for anybody to get to fly solo on a glider. Um, but and now I'm trying to get my licensing in that area. I'm finding it my brain as I get older, it's hard to learn new things. Uh, I feel very comfortable in the health domain. It's something I started thinking about when I was about 12 years of age, so and I feel that's my comfort zone. But learning new skills, and one way to um, delay Alzheimer's is to, as well as being active. Is in one simple way you can start by walking, but learning new skills. And believe me, my brain gets sore trying to fly a glider and learning all the physics of flying and understanding that the sky is basically not a blank slate, but it's basically full of streams and weather and lifts and sinks and wind and high pressure systems, low pressure systems, and understanding how a glider fits into that is such a wonderful experience. Um, and I hope you find new ways of getting your brain there. But if you expect perfection, if you expect you're the best at something, yeah, there's always someone better than you are, and there's always ways of doing things. So, but I do expect people to give it their best shot. People who win the Olympics um, are people that work at it. So they have to work at it. Um, and so if we just backtrack that one slide there, just think about is that learn to laugh at yourself. And the best predictor of success is when you fall down is getting back up. So the number one predictor of weight loss at many programs are just I had a bad day, I gained some weight, I'm back on track. And get yourself back on track and laugh at yourself. What's on the agenda? Tell us more.
And to help us stay on track, we've developed a list of monthly challenges. Now, these will be updating as time goes on, and we might also add weekly challenges, similar to components of the Olympics that are time-based. And so we've developed a short list here, such as January being dry month, asking you to drink no or less alcohol, February being push-up and squat month, asking you to use the push-up app to track your push-ups and just do as many push-ups and squats as you can. March being the walk every day challenge, asking you to walk as much as you can and potentially tracking with a step counter. And finally, April being a plant-based eating month. So submitting pictures of your dishes can be one way that you can participate in this. And we'll be updating this and adding more challenges as time goes on. But our Olympics are not just about exercise. They're the health Olympics, and so we also will provide points for following challenges that lead towards a healthier self in various different domains. So this can involve smoking less, not eating after 8 p.m., bringing in medications or blood pressure diaries, filling in the 30 days to a healthier you report card. Sharing healthy recipes to our Facebook group and many other ways that you can actually work towards a healthier self. And we'll be providing information about this and some ideas along the way. And
Great.
so,
Go ahead.
go
Go ahead.
the the one of the best ways for you to participate in the Olympics and the primary way for you to share your progress with us is through the Olympic Forum. And so we ask you to fill this out every single week. We'll be sending it to you via email as well as you'll be able to access it if you come to the clinic by a link. And so the volunteers would be happy to help you to access this form. And the links are also in the description. So this form is where you can track all the progress that you've made. You can write your SMARTO goals. You can update any challenges that you've had, and you can share pictures, you can share any statistics that you have. Everything related to the Health Olympics will be tracked through this form and will allow us to see what you've been doing, score all your work, as well as allow you to track everything that you've been doing and really see all the progress that you've made. And so at the end of the Olympics, as always, there are prizes. Now, the Olympic Committee is still in the works of developing exactly which prizes we'll be offering at the end of this Olympics. And as many of you might know, the Olympics often have prizes that are very catered towards the Olympics at that time. For example, the Olympic gold medals at the Paris Olympics recently had pieces of the Eiffel Tower embedded within the gold medal. And so, similar to that, we'll be developing some prizes that really provide benefit to the top 5 most consistent health athletes. And so, we'll be looking into different options. Some of these might include skipping the line at the clinic, a healthy eating festival, a gift card, and as Dr. Curnew mentioned, the opportunity to participate in the CN Tower climb.
The most important thing is intrinsic motivation. So I want you guys to develop your health book, health binders. You keep track of your scores, um, and and just try to. And if you want to do things every week or every month, you can do your pace. Our Olympics are going on for 6 months, and so to me, the best way to win is to basically set some smart goals and to overcome obstacles and have fun along the way. Um, and realize there'll be some setbacks along the way. And it's kind of fun, and there'll be some more surprises along the way too as well.
All right, now, what things can you do? So aerobic and anaerobic exercise. I think that many people know about this. What's the number one aerobic exercise that people might have heard of? Walking. Now, I'm gonna first define the terms. What even am I talking about aerobic and anaerobic? I think Dr. Curnew mentioned VO2 max. We just want to introduce that idea. So aerobic is regarding air, oxygen. So it's any exercise where you can maintain a conversation. So conversational pace. Some examples are here. Walking, hiking, golf, it says distance running, depending on how fast you're going. And then there's anaerobic exercise. That's the intensity where you're pushing yourself a little bit more. You're burning carbohydrates, your body's using less oxygen, and you're making this lactic acid. Anybody who remembers running too fast, your legs start to burn, right? So that's an example of anaerobic exercise. And the reason we wanted to mention is because of something like METs. Anybody who's done a stress test or treadmill test in a clinic or anywhere else, you might have been told what your METs was, right? So your maximum metabolic equivalence, the horsepower that you could put on the treadmill. Um, Also correlated with another metric called VO2 max. What is the maximum number of oxygen consumption from your muscles? So the higher it is, the more fit you are, the more healthier you are. It's correlated with metabolic health. You have this chart here that says of different age groups and what levels mean high, what are below average, what are above average. I think Dr. Curnew being the elite average probably, according to your lats METs that I remember. But the reason it's important is because of this graph right here. Now, this is observational. It doesn't mean that numbers are absolutely
Backtrack,
accurate. Yeah, go ahead.
back on track over here. So you can see that MET, I think a MET is your horsepower. 1 MET is your basic metabolic rate. You're just breathing, doing nothing. What we're doing right now is about 2 METs of activity where we're burping a little bit, getting up, walking around a little bit. You need about 5 METs to basically perform housework, do chores around the house, shovel your driveway a little bit, take off the snow off your car and places as well. But so to me, I want, you can do VO2 max, which is a more sophisticated test. You wear the actual mask, but the METs is something you can look at that where you want to be. So you want to be in the high group if you can, obviously elite if you want to, but I think, you don't want to be in the low group. And if you can't do 5 METs of activity, it means you really can't look after yourself. You're getting closer and closer to the nursing home. And again, is gonna point out, this is actually important. For every 1 increased MET in fitness, you decrease cardiovascular events by 10 to 20%. I'll repeat that. For every 1 unit, if I go from 5 METs to 7 METs, you actually can increase your chance of living longer and better by about 20%. We'll say, a 10% jump, and that's pretty good. So being fit again, as we point, these are based on observational data sets. But so you can look in there, you can stop and pause. For instance, so I am, I'm not sure you want to put mine in there. So I'm 65 years of age. And depending how, if I remember correctly, when I estimate my VO2 max, I think it was around 21 METs, if I can't, 17 or 21 METs. I can't remember exactly what them are. Do you remember what it was, Rad, at all?
Yeah, I remember you did 20 something once, and also 17 was the last one, if I'm not mistaken.
And so basically, I still have some good horsepower left, but I'm losing it, and it's decaying. But I've been exercising since all my life. One of my religious beliefs is vitamin E for vitamin exercise. It is so much for my mental health, my physical health, my mental health, and that's one of the things I'm struggling right now is that I can't do the things physically I want to right now because of pain. Um, and I'm fighting back. I'm seeing people who are more expert in that area. I'm getting proper imaging to sort this out. Is this disc disease? Is this osteoarthritis? Is this a problem with the tendons or muscle tears and things of that nature? In the process of trying to figure this out because most soft tissue injury gets better. This has been going on for 3 months, and so spoke to my family doctor. My X-ray doesn't is not consistent with too much osteoarthritis. I have some, and I think at this age in life, most of us or all of us have some degree of osteoarthritis. And now I'm going to go to more advanced imaging to sort this out with ultrasound and maybe MR technology or CT technology. I'm going to let people who are more expert on that guide me in this area. So um, but what's really impressive to me is that it is getting better slowly, ups and downs, and that tropical physiotherapy is actually really important by people who know what they're doing. Um, and so that's important to find. There's a sports medicine clinic at McMaster. I have a wonderful family doctor. I have some colleagues around there that can give me some good advice. Many years ago, I had problems with tendonitis from playing squash. And one of my local orthopedic people, after doing some exercise, some rest, and getting back at it, I wear a band uh, to protect my Achilles when I play squash. It's made immense difference. I also changed my squash game to a more of a lob game, not a power game, and so I'm still able to. So I'm still struggling. I'm down a couple leagues. I'm not the player I was before, but right now I can't even play squash, and I hope that that will change. Whether or not I will or not, I don't know, but I'm going to work into that area to try to find out. And I hope you guys look at these tables, take a picture of this, and when you have your stress test, walk out how many Mets you can do and how to get better at this, period. This is important. Next slide, please. Take it away. And here's
Absolutely.
why.
And the reason it's important is because not being fit, in terms of its risk, is worse than some of the other risk factors we all know of, right? So smoking, diabetes, blood pressure, etc. You can see the bigger the bars, the higher the risk. And not being fit, the bars are bigger. That's the key takeaway. Now, how do you increase it? The key takeaway is also here. Some high intensity exercises as long as you can, as much as you can, but not doing it too much. So this rule of thumb that I like is doing lots of easy exercise, right? Just keeping yourself moving. For most people, it can be walking, fast walking, any sports, any aerobic exercise, and once a week, once every 2 weeks, you throw in some intensity, whether it's cycling, if you have bad knees, or some other things. There's ropes. I think Dr. Curnew, you've tried that in the past. There's all examples of how you can increase this if anybody's interested. Now, this is another idea about the centenarian decathlon, very briefly, is that depending on where you want to end up, let's say at the age of 75, you have to be able to do more right now and be above average. You can see this chart. It says to walk at a certain pace at 65, 75. Where do you have to be in your 50s or 40s? And you can pause this and take a look at this graph right here. Very important. I think it's a reminder, right, that if you're good today, it doesn't mean that's going to continue.
So if you want to be able to walk briskly up steps when you're 75 years of age, you need to, at the age of 25, be able to run 10 miles per hour on a flat surface. Okay. Um, if you want to, so these are some pure examples of this. If you want to just sit around and do nothing, which and say it's too cold outside, it's the weather's bad, I'm too busy, then get ready to spend the last 10 years of your life closer to the nursing home with disease. This is probably, one of the things that the mistake I made was that I didn't start treating my cholesterol early enough with medications. I thought my lifestyle changes were okay, and being better than average leads to heart disease for most of us, especially if you have a positive family history. My dad had his bypass at 50. I have a high LP little a. One of my sons has one, and my second one may have it, but it's also during an infective period of time. So when he had a flu-like illness, it can falsely elevate. So we'll look into that to find out. So find out what's your risk and see what you can do about this. But look at this decay over time. Um, as that 30 downwards, things start to decay. So you need to build and then maintain and then build as time goes on. It's still not too early, when you're 85 years of age, if you want to build muscle, you can do that. It's going to probably take you a couple of years to do it. And I have a number of patients who have a personal trainer coming into their homes that are designed for seniors because they feel they can't go and they're taking that investment in their health. I always think it's better if you can go out and go to your local gym, YMCA, lots of seniors programs, lots of different things as well. Now, gotta watch the seniors program. Some are just sitting around on chairs doing a few little stuff, and that's okay. But you gotta decide how hard you want to push this. So, and I think so push it, have some fun, and push it the right way with people who know that can help you, and so you don't overdo things and you don't underdo things. How do you want to end your life? Nursing home, being able to do all the different things. Tell us more.
Different activities, right? There's a visual explanation of if you want to be able to walk at a certain age. Right now, I'm looking at the top bottom right here at VO2 max of 29. You follow that line. What do you have to do at the age of 35? What do you have to be able to do, right? So someone who's an athlete, look where they end up. This is for men. And the next slide is for women. Not a lot of great difference, just some examples of different activities. The numbers are VO2 max, so the oxygen that you consume. If you want to see what your VO2 max is, you can estimate it by multiplying your METs from your stress test times 3.5, and give or take, you get that as an estimate. So the higher it is, the better it is.
It's funny, go back to that one thing there. So I remember being young and we were doing stupid things with skateboards and pulling each other on bikes and almost killing each other. And now if I went on a skateboard, I'd probably fall and break a few bones. And I'll remind you, there's two types of fractures. There's the old farts fractures where you fall and break your hip, and you have a 50-50 chance of recovering, and you have a high mortality between 20 to 50% next couple of years. Or the wrist fracture, you fall and you catch yourself on your wrist, you break your wrist. Um, you don't want to break anything, but if you build bone, and that's by resistance training and exercise, and also fall and catch yourself, less damage takes place as well. So I got a skateboard. I'm not sure if I can. I'm afraid to go on it or not. I might just go some slow steps on that. But is that you can see some people playing tennis here, then to pickleball and walking and cycling and do different things. And um, please, please, please incorporate this in your life and enjoy these sorts of things. This is really important. I think of exercise along a number of domains. First, starting off walking is great, but walking doesn't really build muscle. So the muscle training that we talked about. Balance training is important too as well. We tend to fall as we get older. And so I'm working on balance, and I'm not as steady. Um, I've lost a lot from muscle power to brain power. We accept wrinkles and gray hair, but I'm trying not to accept this belly fat, and I'm really looking at body composition. My body says too much fat, not enough muscle when I check it. I'm still working on that. Will I get to want to be? I don't know, but got to keep trying, and I hope you do too as well. And my gold medal is just being around for as long as I can, um, and being as productive and helpful for as long as I can, and watch my kids grow up and their families. That's my goal, and be able to participate in their health. Um, I hope they don't have to take care of me too much. But I realize that I am losing it, and I'll keep going, and I hope you get going too as well. I don't want to be a burden on other people. That's important to me. I want to be helpful to people. Resistance and strength training. Ugh, the
Yeah, so we're going to talk a little bit about resistance or strength training, which is very important to do alongside your aerobic activity as well. It's not one or the other. Ideally, we want to incorporate both. Yeah, so just an idea of what resistance or strength training can look like. I like to break it down into things that can help build strength, things that can help build power, and then you also have like isometric exercises as well. So for strength, what that means is that we have hypertrophy, or otherwise we want to have exercises that increase your muscle mass. And so when you're training with weights, what that can look like is weights that are slightly lower than what you would be when you're pushing yourself with, but with more reps. Power, on the other hand, we associate more with speed, and those will tend to be less reps, but more weight. And then isometric involves dealing with your own body weight and holding that in a fixed position. Some of the common exercises will often include planks or wall sits as well are also part of that. So it's just important to keep in mind that there are many different aspects when it comes to building strength. So why does muscle matter? We've talked a lot about this throughout the course of this presentation, but it is very important. So I just want to re-emphasize that your strength does decline by decade, and you lose a lot of muscle mass as you get older as well. So it's really important, in terms of function within your daily lives, that you incorporate strength and resistance training for that purpose. And so I know we mentioned resistance or strength training. What does that actually look like? There are many different ways that we can help incorporate that. And hopefully you'll be able to use some of these ideas when it comes to addressing the own SMART goals that you've made during the Health Olympics. We can use machines, which are pretty commonly accessible. They're often also in a lot of apartment gyms as well. So this can be cable machines, and they also carry less risk in case you're worried about dropping a weight. And they also often provide instructions on the side of them, which help you use them if you're not sure if this is your first time using it. Free weights are an option that are available as well as calisthenics. So for calisthenics, you can grab a yoga mat or whatever that's available within your apartment, and you're really going to be leveraging your own body weight against that. And resistance bands are an option as well, which very much help with mobility. Yeah, and so example of calisthenics, these are probably the easiest to do just because you don't need any equipment at all. But we've talked about push-ups, squats as well. Other good examples, lunges, pull-ups if you can do them. If not, there are many different modified versions as well. You can do them like at a 45-degree angle, or if you want, you can also try holding the bar at a dead hang as well. And that also engages those muscles. And planks can help also stabilize the core as well. So these are a few examples that when it comes to building your own exercise routine or getting into that routine, these are some pretty good first steps. Yeah. Dr. Curnew, did you want to talk about the biceps curl and its relation to blood pressure?
Well, one of the things is people always talk about, my blood pressure just went shooting up, and I'm really worried. This Let's look at the blood pressure of a normal individual. So the resting blood pressure is 130 over 80. And then they did some bicep curls. Look at the blood pressure, 230 over 165. You don't have to go to the hospital. That's normal. I'll repeat that. Blood pressure fluctuates, and I get these people all the time worried about their blood pressure. Um, um, we get frustrated, we get angry, our blood pressure goes shooting up. So having a blood pressure of 230 or 165, you're supposed to measure blood pressure in a relaxed state, not when you're doing bicep curls. So this is normally what happens. So and also machines make mistakes. They're non-perfect. So I'm always laughing at people saying, do I need to go to the emergency room? No. it's the average blood pressure that's important. It's really important. So you measure it, multiple times in a relaxed situation. Um, your back supported, feet on the ground, heart at heart level, no coffee for a half an hour. You just didn't have a big argument with your next door neighbor, or you didn't just get bitten by a dog or whatever, and you just didn't do a bicep curl, because you're not going to die. Um, Also tells us if you have a disease, you have a big dilated aorta, you shouldn't be doing bicep curls. Um, but I just think this is truly amazing to see this is what happens to normal people. So remember, measure blood pressure, don't panic, write down the whole thing.
Thank you, Dr. Curnew. And then just really wanted to emphasize, I think, as we start to help set goals for the Health Olympics, that a week of exercise can look different for everyone. Everyone has different schedules, different activities that they like to do. So really focus on personalizing it. What works for me might not necessarily work for Rad or Dr. Curnew or Bhavya. So this is just a short example showing how you can easily integrate exercise with activities with your friends, your family, in between lunch, during work as well. And so I just really wanted to show this fact.
And you have to cross train. You have to do a bunch of different things, right? Um, I mean, if picking your nose is your Olympic sport, then I would try to do multiple different sports along the way. Um, Tell us more.
Yeah, and uh, I know we've talked a lot about strength resistance. I think it's important that we don't forget about balance. It's been emphasized before that as you get older, falling down is more significant risk factor, especially when you're walking upstairs. And we've talked previously before as well how with falls, especially if you're hitting your hip or fracturing your hip, how that can lead to increased mortality or morbidity, decreased function in life within within the next couple of years of the fall. And so there are a couple of exercises. I think the simplest is single leg balancing. You can do without a chair. You can do it while you're standing up. Integrate it throughout your day. But other simple exercises as well can include standing up from the chair using one leg, standing up from the chair without using the support of your arms, and then simple step ups, step downs, which sort of simulates the motion that you would do with stairs. And then lastly, we talked about it in the beginning, but just to confirm and to conclude, we not only want resistance or strength training, we also want the aerobic stuff as well. So if you're only running, then try to incorporate some resistance or some strength training. And if you're only weightlifting, then try to do some of that cardio as well. And lastly, community resources. We've talked about this before briefly, but look into your local Facebook groups for any exercise activities or exercise groups. I know Dr. Cernew's clinic has a Facebook group as well. Look into programs at your YMCA or at the recreational center. Um, there's tons of that around, especially now that it's the winter. And then I personally have dragon boated a lot within the past few years. And so this is an example of a team within the local community at Bayfront that offers a good opportunity for weekly exercise.
Tell us about your dragon boat. Tell me what that's like.
Yeah, so the way I like to pitch it is that it's a big boat of 20 people, so you have a lot of friends, and everyone is paddling together. Um, it's a good upper body workout. You get good cardio too because you have to paddle for long distances. And it builds a lot of teamwork and a lot of soft skills as well, because you have to paddle in sync. And so through that, you also get a lot of friends formed along the way. I personally have dragon boated for the past 5 years or so, and I found it very rewarding in both of fit in terms of fitness and culture.
Just wanted to, yeah, I'm just gonna talk about this slide. So these are some of the quotes that have resonated with me over the years. I just want to include it. Dr. Kern, if you like to take pictures of any slides, this will be it. So that top left one I saw in a Lululemon store, and I thought, wow, that's wonderful. And I sent it to a friend because he keeps saying, I'll try this tomorrow, I'll try this tomorrow. He never does it. And that the one on the right, I use it for my running because a lot of times I start a race and I committed to do it, but I haven't decided. So when it going gets tough, I'm like, let's try it next one. So doesn't apply to everybody, but some of the quotes that I liked, and that one at the bottom, it was about weight loss, but just this whole thing is a marathon, right? This Olympic getting healthier. We're not trying to do too much too soon. Just do whatever you're doing right now. And we're trying to help people with these forums and these pictures, Facebook, just to make a community and make people accountable and do it together. Because I certainly would have not done the things that I've done in terms of exercise if I did it alone. And right now I'm trying to deal with other people. That competition, a healthy competition is wonderful. And people who are older as well, I think you can definitely make that for yourself.
So if someone says I will try means they don't have enough confidence, they usually won't do it. Someone will say I will means that they'll do it.
Yep.
And so I the idea to replace the word try with will. Um, I will look after myself better. I may not win the gold medal, but geez, I will feel so much better and live better and enjoy myself. And and that poor person trying to push that rock up that hill, I think you need a dragon boat of people pushing up that rock. I think, 70% of us are stuck at our weight and we can't do things. And this business, I can do it myself. Good for you. I can't do it myself. I have the world's best clinic because I have all these young people working with us, old farts, and a mixture of all together, and we can do some amazing things. So please become part of that and find the joy of this because it is wonderful. You will feel better. You will be stronger and you will be further away from the nursing home.